pocket, then I guess I'll just have to walk around my neighborhood. But I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be good so bad, so bad. Yeah, I wanna be good so bad. But bad desire is all I've ever had.
All right. Hey, everybody. I am Ryan. It's great to be here. This is, unfortunately, this is my first Dopey speaker meeting. I was trying to get to a couple before my turn, but didn't work out that way. But I'm glad to be here and hope to check some out in the future. So yeah, thanks for having me here. I guess my job tonight is to kind of tell my story. I'll start out by saying that I'm coming up on 4 years at the end of this month, sober from all mind-altering substances. It's been quite a journey, and I was introduced to Dopey by a former sponsee of mine. I got sober in a 12-step program, and he got into it pretty early on in his sobriety, and I know it was a big staple for him. It really helped him a lot, and it took me a little bit longer to get into it. I was looking for something new to listen to. I don't know, probably about 6-8 months ago. So I was like, I'm going to give it a shot. And after like episode 3, I was hooked. And I'm still working on catching up. I think I'm at like 190 now. It was really, it was strange, like, because I knew Chris was gonna pass away. I knew that he had died. My sponsee told me that, and it's still listening from the beginning and just kind of developing that relationship with Dave and Chris. I'm sure all of you can relate. I cried like a baby when that episode came around. I remember listening to the episode after with Dave. And I was in the car with my wife, and I remember at the end of the show, I was crying. I was like, Dave, you better fucking say toodles. I was so happy when he said fucking toodles for Chris. So yeah, it's been an awesome journey. I'm looking forward to continuing and getting caught up. But I guess I'll give you guys a little bit of my history, kind of like what it was like growing up, what happened to get me into sobriety, and then kind of what it's been like since then. So, I had a pretty normal childhood, a pretty privileged childhood, upper middle class, only child, 2 very loving parents that were married and up until my dad passed away in 2015. So pretty stable. There's of course, dysfunction, but I think that's pretty common in any family. My mom and my relationship from teenage years on has always been a little bit dicey. But I can't blame any of my, addiction or shortcomings on any kind of like big trauma or anything. It's just, I think I was, genetically predisposed to it. You hear it all the time, and it's true for me. I kind of felt like the black sheep, the outsider, going through school. I do think being an only child may have had something to do with it. I never, I guess, really learned how to socialize or share. I kind of was in my own little world. So when it came time to go to school, I never really felt like I had a home with a group of people, or I kind of was a chameleon, bouncing from the skaters and the punks to the jocks to whatever, and never really finding my home. So, pretty normal childhood outside of feeling like a little bit like an outcast or an outsider, up until sophomore year of high school. A buddy of mine came over to spend the night, and he brought some weed with him. And I do remember pre-drugs being like pretty adamantly like, I'm never doing that shit, man. That's for losers. I'm never touching anything. I'm not smoking weed. I'm not drinking. But I think the the pressure of wanting to fit in, and seeing everybody else doing it, kind of fed into me wanting to try it. And man, I remember we were out in my driveway, just looking up at the stars, smoking a bowl. And I remember when it hit me, and like just that feeling of joy and the giggles kicked in. I was like, this is what I've been missing. And that's another thing that you hear a lot in sobriety. Like you get that feeling when you take that first drink or that first drug, that like, this is what's been missing. And I didn't even really know that something had been missing until I got high, and I was like, this is it. So I continued off and on smoking when I could, and loved it. I did get drunk for the first time shortly thereafter too. And, I blacked out, threw up, put a hole in my friend's bathroom wall. I just fell forward and put my head through the wall. So I drank pretty heavily from the first time as well. I don't remember really liking alcohol as much from the get-go, but it did, it did end up being a pretty a staple in my addiction. When I either was unable to find anything else, or was low on money, a six-pack or a cheap plastic bottle of vodka was always a good alternative for me. So yeah, I continued smoking when I could, drinking when I could. I got into some legal trouble senior year of high school. I got arrested for possession of weed and paraphernalia. My parents paid for a lawyer, got some community service, and it was no big deal. And then I got 6 months later, I got another possession charge. And I was up in college at that point. And at that point, I guess my parents started worrying, started thinking that maybe something's going on. But, me being 18, 19 years old, and having really only had consequences from smoking weed, I wasn't ready to admit that anything was going on. I didn't have any kind of problem. Looking back, I was definitely on the road, if not already there, to having an issue. But my parents ended up sending me to rehab for weed. And, I was in there with some alcoholics. I was in there with one crackhead, a heroin addict. And I remember looking around at everybody like, I'm not like these people. This isn't me. I'll never end up like this. I don't belong here. It was actually an outpatient program that, believe it or not, did not drug test us. And I remember I'd have a bowl packed up pulling out of the parking lot from rehab. So, my drinking and smoking continued, and then shortly into college, I got introduced to the heavier stuff. I guess my kind of fear and desire to not go down that path had waned and gone away with the weed and alcohol. So I had kind of become an open book and curious to what everything else was like. So I'm trying to remember. So I guess that I tried some psychedelics next, really loved that. And then I was introduced to benzos, to Xanax. And that was really when things kind of started to fall apart for me. So my grandmother had a prescription, and she would get like these giant bottles of alprazolam, and I would just, I would take handfuls of them, and never got caught until I did. But for a long time, I didn't get caught. And I've heard this since getting sober. I thought this was just a me thing that I was really ashamed of. But when I started doing benzos, man, everything around me became mine. I was a big thief on benzos. It's just this weird thing where like there's no boundaries. Like if I see something, it's like, oh, that's mine now. So I ended up, there was one New Year's Eve, I don't know, I was probably 20, 21 years old. And I was riding around with a friend of mine. I had like just a laundry list of shit. I was doing some Molly, coke, drinking, weed. I mean, just a whole bunch of shit. And then of course I had some Xanax to top it off. And you know, I was so fucked up that I didn't want to go home. I was living with my parents at that point. I had backtrack a little bit. I had gotten put on academic probation and had to come home from college. So I was living with my parents, and I didn't want to go home as fucked up as I was on New Year's Eve. So I was with my buddy, and I was like, "Can I crash with you?" He was like, "You can't crash with me, but I have another friend who you can probably crash with him. I'm going to go home, but let me talk to him, and it should be all good." So we drove over there. I followed him in my car. This guy he's like, "Sure, yeah, you can crash here, no problem." We hung out for a little while, probably did some more drugs, talked, and then he and his girlfriend went and passed out, and I was still, you know, rolling big time. The stealing thing. I didn't hear it until I came into the rooms, and I was like, oh, so I guess that's pretty common with benzos. But yeah, they passed out, and I'm sitting in his apartment looking around, and everything in his apartment became mine, right? So I started loading up my car with everything from PlayStations to toothbrushes, just literally anything and everything that I could fit into my car was going in. And I loaded it up, and I proceeded to go back into his apartment. And oh, my dog just came back. Awesome. Shithead. I went back into his apartment and passed out on the couch with the car full of his shit. So he wakes up in the morning and wakes me up, and he's like, "Bro, where the fuck is all my stuff?" And I kind of, I guess, had like a recollection somewhat of what I had been doing. It was, man, I tell you, one of the most demoralizing, humiliating, just like, even when I think about it now, it's like I get kind of like a twist in my stomach, just like, oh God, I can't believe I did that. You know, and I ended up like that ended up being, I guess you could say, my bottom with benzos. I ended up writing like this really long apology letter to him, and then an apology letter to the other friend of mine who like introduced me, like, because I could kind of like, you know, fucked up his name with this guy too. And it was just like totally mortified. I was like, I can't do those ever again. So I decided to quit cold turkey. I think at that point I was up to like between like 16 and 20 milligrams a day of benzos, and I quit. I had a couple seizures. Was not in a good place. And man, going from the amount that I was taking to nothing, just totally fucked my brain up, man. The withdrawals from benzos was one of the fucking worst things I've ever experienced. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. Just crippling anxiety, you know, fatigue, just, it was awful. And, you know, being an addict with no solution, I needed something to make that go away. So I jumped on to the next thing. I had a buddy who was just getting into oxys. They had kind of like started to blow up in the I guess in like the early 2000s ish. And he gave me one night, and it took all that away again. I was like, here's the answer again. I found it. We're good now. So as you can see, I'm kind of a garbage head. I would just bounce from one drug to the other. I'd burn it down with something, swear it off, and I'd get off of it, but I'd have to replace it with something else. So I got bad on the opiates, ended up getting caught stealing from my grandmother with the opiates, and got sent to rehab again. It was at that point, my second rehab, that I was like, okay, I probably have a problem. I was introduced to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous at that point, 22, 23 years old, I think. Like I said, knew that I probably had a problem, but was still not willing to accept any kind of help. I was determined that I was going to figure this thing out. I was just going to tone it back a little bit. I'd go to rehab and get off everything for a month or so, and then we'll just slow it down, and everything will be fine. I was going to figure out the right cocktail, the right recipe to make using work for me, so that I could still use and manage my life. I tried that for the next 8 years, 8 years. I'll fast forward a little bit. I got off the opiates and put onto a Suboxone program. Once I was off those, I needed something else, so I switched over to cocaine. Alcohol took a bigger role in my life. And then shortly before what I consider to be my bottom, let me tell you a little bit about my college and career history. I went to school for art and art education. I'm an art teacher at an elementary school for kids in K through 5. So for a lot of my career, I was very much living a double life. I managed somehow to hold on to that job and still have it to this day. I was very, very close, I believe, to losing it. I was, 4 years ago, I was teaching by day when I would show up, teaching by day and running around with a guy that kind of ran a trap house with a gun, with a serial number shaved off, slinging crystal, heroin, crack, and doing all of that myself. So I had, and those were all lines that I had drawn in the sand for myself a long time ago as well. I was like, I'm never doing those hard ones, the crack, the crystal. I'm not doing those. And I was, I was very much in pain and ashamed of who I had become, and trying to mask that and cover it up any way I could. So this guy, he would have me drive drugs up to North Carolina and sell them at this trap house overnight, and then come back with the money, and I'd get, free drugs out of it, essentially. So I was on my way up to North Carolina. It was I believe it was a Sunday night. I left at like 11 o'clock. I was supposed to get there about 2 o'clock, and I had work at 7 o'clock in the morning. I don't know how I figured in my head that I was going to make it to work, but I thought I was. Somewhere around North Georgia. I'm from Atlanta. Somewhere around North Georgia, I get lit up from behind. I actually wasn't driving. I was with another guy. It was my car. He was driving my car so that I could drink and use whatever I wanted. Lights lit up. He pulled over. He bailed immediately. He had warrants. And I got out, tossed what I had in my pocket into the grass. I ended up getting a laundry list of charges: cocaine, methamphetamine. I had some Xanax. I was starting to get back into Xanax at that time. Marijuana, open container, a couple other things too. I'm so fortunate. I did not have the gun on me that night, and there was a 1/4 ounce of heroin. That was the only thing that we actually tried to conceal. I think because they were able to find everything else so easily, they didn't really look that hard, and they didn't find the heroin. I very well might still be in jail if either of those things had happened. So I'm grateful for that. So I got taken to jail. They asked if I was suicidal, and I really wasn't at that point. But apparently, if you tell the cops that you have been in the past, they ask you, have you ever been suicidal? And I was like, yeah, I guess I was at one point. That is immediate send to the suicide cell. So I was stripped naked, given the suicide blanket, put in a completely empty cell. And I laid there for like 16, 18 hours. That was my bottom. I laid there, coming down off of meth and crack and whatever else, alcohol, and just completely baffled at how I had gone from an upper middle class white kid with a good education, raised with morals and everything, to what I had become in that moment. And I was done. I just decided, like, I cannot do this anymore. I need something different. I don't know how to do this. I need help. So I used my phone call to call my mom. God bless her. I put that woman through fucking hell. My dad too, while he was alive. She ended up, I didn't get to talk to her. I left her a message. She ended up spending the next 12 hours putting a lien on her house so that she could get the money to bail me out. She gets me out at like 6 p.m. the next day. I had missed work, obviously, no call, no show as a teacher. It was not a good day, not a good time. And I remember walking, they buzzed the door open and I see my mom there and I just fucking lost it. Like, I'm choking up a little bit thinking about it now. I was so humiliated and ashamed and just done. And I told her, I said, I need help. I can't do this. And of course I said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She'd heard that hundreds, if not thousands of times before. But I meant it. I wanted help and I wanted to stop. So, God bless her. She helped me get into a treatment program. I was ready, man. I was gung ho. I was again reintroduced to AA. They taught us some, DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy skills that I was really interested in, and I was just trying to soak it all in, man. The people that were in rehab that you can tell like don't want to be there, like what I was the first 2 times. I tried to stay away from those people, and I tried to hang with the people that looked like they were where I was. Some guy came in from an AA group outside of the rehab and told his story. I immediately asked him to sponsor me, and he took me through the steps. And I gotta say, like, I wasn't convinced it was going to work. I was really hopeful that it was going to work, but I thought I was too unique of a case, too special of a case. And you hear that all the time too, the terminal uniqueness. Like this isn't going to work for me. My shit's too weird, too fucked up, too whatever. But I'm going to try, because I've tried everything else on my own. If and when this doesn't work, everything else is out there waiting for me. I'll either run it out or I'll, swallow a bullet, whatever I got to do to cover the pain. And, so I put my head down and I did what was suggested of me. I went to meetings. I think I did like 180 and 180. I went to at least one, if not several meetings a day. I got a sponsor, like I said, worked through the steps. I just did what the people that had gone before me told me to do. And sure enough, around step 6 and 7, my sponsor asked me, he was like, when's the last time you thought about taking a drink or a drug? And I had to like kind of pause for a second and be like, shit, I don't know, man. And that blew my mind. Like, I didn't realize it myself. He kind of had to pull it out of me, but something had removed that need for me to fill myself with mind altering substances. That need to numb and escape had gone away. Early recovery was really hard. It was very challenging. Emotions spiking through the roof, extreme highs, extreme lows. But I just kept with it. I think the thing that kept me coming back to the rooms was the fellowship initially. That was the first time that I felt truly loved and appreciated. I went to the University of Georgia, Sarah. Go Dogs. That was the first time I felt truly loved and appreciated. Really since, I guess, my parents. And I didn't feel, of course, I didn't, like every kid, I didn't feel like my parents got me. So I wasn't gonna lean on my parents for that connection. I felt understood and loved in the rooms of AA, and I started to build some really meaningful, true friendships in the rooms, and people that I'm still very close with today, and are a huge part of my life and help me when I'm struggling, and I do my best to help if they're struggling. It's my life is beyond different. It's, you know, another thing, I'm slinging all the cliches tonight, but you hear it often in the rooms. If you write down what you want your life to be like, you know, 2-3 years down the road in sobriety, you're going to sell yourself short. 100% for me. I mean, I wanted to learn how to not blow my life up and burn my life to the ground, and maybe like function like a human being. I got those things and then a lot more. You know, I have, like I said, I have people that I love and care for, and they love and care for me. You know, there's no strings attached to those relationships. It's true and heartfelt. And, you know, I have an integrity. I show up for work. I'm a reliable employee. I met the woman of my dreams in the rooms. I'm not advocating for that at all, but it happens sometimes. Met her and we got married in February of this year. So that's been incredible. You know, I have an amazing relationship with my mom. It really tries my patience sometimes, but I'm able to kind of take a step back and hold my tongue. Thank you, Jess. I'm able to hold my tongue when I need to. That's my wife, Jackie. She said she said your wife is hot. You know, AA has taught me a lot about, you know, how to interact with the world. And that's really what the 12 steps for me are. You know, it's only the first step of, Triangle. 8111 is my home clubhouse, Sarah. You know, the first step in 12-step programs is the only step that mentions alcohol or the drugs or whatever, and everything else is really just kind of like revamping my fucked up thinking and emotions so that I can function in this world. And it's done a lot for me, and I continue to do those things that I did when I first came in today, because I am terrified of going back to where I was. Life continues to get better for me. Like I said, it's not perfect. There are certainly challenges, but I have tools to deal with those challenges. And every time I get through something challenging without picking up a drink or a drug, that feels really fucking good. I'm like, God damn it, I can do this. I can do these things that humans do. I feel normal somewhat. And when I don't, I have you guys to talk to and bounce shit off of. So that's my story. I did want to speak a little bit about, you know, that's what worked for me. There are many pathways to recovery. Sorry, my other dog is now losing her shit upstairs. Like I said, my wife and I met in the rooms, and sorry, Jackie, I'm going to kind of tell a little bit of your story, but you know, she struggled with some of the principles, not the principles. She struggled with some of the she just struggled with it. It wasn't for her. So she has been on this really remarkable, impressive, inspiring journey to find the path of recovery that works for her. And it is working. She is a shining example of what recovery can look like. Patriarchy. She struggled with the patriarchy. There it is. You know, my first couple years, I was very gung-ho, like it's 12 steps or you're not getting sober. And, you know, I'm a little bit ashamed to admit that. But I have learned since then that no, it's not a one size fits all thing. And I think that, you know, that kind of thinking or speaking that it's a one size fits all can be really detrimental and dangerous to addicts and alcoholics. You know, people are generally funneled into the 12-step programs, which I think is a great introduction to sobriety. But like I said, it's not for everyone. And I think people should be encouraged to really seek and find what speaks to and works for them. Because the most important thing is it's not dying. If I can find something that is going to allow me to stay alive and hopefully, you know, get to a point where I'm living a happy, useful life, that's that's what's most important. Dopey really helped me with that as well. Hearing Chris talk about medicated assisted treatment, and just all the different speakers that have been on, all the guests that, I've noticed a lot of the guests say they don't go to meetings. They started in 12-step, they don't go to meetings anymore. I don't want to try that, but I respect that works for them, and they've got their other spiritual avenues. I haven't really touched on the spiritual aspect of it. That certainly is an important part for me, having a connection with something outside of myself that I put belief and faith in, to help me through this path. That's been key. That's also obviously a very important part of the 12 steps. But that might not be for everyone, and there are multiple paths to this thing. So I know it's only been about 35 minutes. I think I've covered what I wanted to cover. I really appreciate you guys. I love this community. I'm so grateful to my sponsee for turning me on to Dopey. I love Dave. I love all the guests, man. I just love the show, and I love the Dopey Nation. And I'm really glad to be a part of it. So I guess I'm going to turn it back over to Jess and figure out what we want to do with the rest of the meeting time. Thanks.
Some money in my pocket, then I guess I'll just have to walk around my neighborhood. But I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be good so bad, so bad. Yeah, I wanna be good so bad. But bad desire is all I've ever had. And I wanna take a ride up in the sky and watch all of the aeroplanes just pass me by. And I wanna see a Lear jetliner take a dive, just to show all of these people what it means to be alive. But I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be good so bad, so bad. Yeah, I wanna be good so bad. But bad desire is all I've ever had. And my shadow's getting smaller and smaller. And it's high noon where I stand. Oh, my shadow's getting smaller and smaller. But it's high noon where I stand. And I wonder, would they pay it any mind when I leave this busted city far behind? I'll take the high road, however far it winds, because peace and love are very, very, very hard to find. But I wanna be good so bad. I wanna be good so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. But bad desire is all I've ever had. And these suckers make me mad. And it's all I and it's all I've ever had. And I wanna call my dad, and it's all I've ever had. And I wanna call my dad, and it's all I've ever had. And I wanna call my dad, and it's all I've ever had. And it's all I've ever